How do the people who make Vaseline make any money? I have had the same tub of Vaseline. Right? Right? The guy with the glasses, am I right? My Vaseline was handed down to me by my grandfather in a will.
Oh, we can all relate to that, can't we? That is Paul Mecurio, an Emmy Award-winning comedian and contributor to The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He is in town now to work on The Late Show as they have a week-long stint here in Chicago, and for his award-winning Broadway show, Permission to Speak, premiering in Schaumburg tomorrow. Paul, welcome.
Great to be here.
Thanks
for having me, man. Your hands are cold. Is everything all right?
Everything. I'm nervous talking to you. You know,
Get out of here.
I'm nervous talking to a big star here.
No.
You are a major part of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and this week the show has really dug in to the DNC and found plenty of material. In fact, the show became part of a protest earlier this week. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Would you like to respond to what they're saying?
Yeah, well, what I was
Hold
saying
on. Will
is...
you listen to her response? If she,
With
will you listen to her
their
response?
screaming, I can't hear them, but to those who have
They have
that
said
question...
that the United States should not have any role in supplying Israel arms to kill the people of Gaza now.
Well,
that's what they're saying.
Israel has a right to defend itself.
Agreed. And the hostages should be returned.
And the hostages should be returned.
Now, what was that experience like?
That was a mix of crazy but exciting, and you felt like you're in a democracy and kind of what's supposed to happen. You know, there was 3,500 people at the Auditorium Theater, and there were some people up in the rafters, and they got in and they waited for Pelosi to come out, and they started heckling about the Gaza-Israeli situation, and it's live. So if that happened, it's happened in New York a couple of times, but we tape at 5:30. You just go to tape. Now it's live, and Stephen, you know, we just try to handle it the best you can, but it continued. And there were protesters outside, and there were police everywhere. When I walked out, I was actually going to probably hand out some flyers to my show, and there's like 100 cops, and then a riot broke out when I yelled, "The Bears suck!" And no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Especially this year with the new quarterback.
No, but it was it's unsettling, but it just is vibrant. It's a live show, and this is democracy in action. So we thought it was really cool.
And that presents some real challenges because it's a live show after the DNC.
Right.
So you have to take what's happened at the DNC and incorporate it into your comedy in a live show. And you have to move very quickly. How does that work?
So we're watching the DNC in real time, and writers are sitting in a room just crashing, right? Joke, 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 joke. And those are getting sent to the head writer, executive producers, Stephen, deciding which jokes to use, and then they have to get graphics made up and so forth. And when you're working right up until it ends. So like Monday night, we were an hour and a half late starting because President Biden went way long and others did, right? And I tried to get, I snuck over to the DNC and tried to unplug his prompter, but it didn't work. Didn't work. Apparently the guy's good without a prompter.
Nothing you can do about that.
And so while that's happening, once the DNC is over, now we're starting to get ready for the show. So we have a warm-up. The warm-up, I do that. They get the show audience going, and the band comes out, and and so, but it is like a kind of thing at the end of the night.
You'll need a deep breath after this. After this week, except you're working tomorrow.
Exactly.
Your stand-up, and in your stand-up, you bring people onto the stage to talk about their lives, and it's all spontaneous. These are not plants that you have. These are folks. Just you pick them out. And let's see an example of that.
How did you meet your husband?
We were in the same homeroom in high school.
That's where I met my wife, in high school.
Yeah.
And you saw him, you thought he was cute?
No, we hated each other at first.
Why?
No, it's just, Yeah, it grows on you.
Yeah.
I loved her. That's Lee in Orlando.
Right.
And you just start talking to people. So what happened is I started talking more and more to audiences, and I just really love it. And I was getting these amazing stories, and we turned into a Broadway show called Permission to Speak, and Frank Oz is directing it, the great Frank Oz, who is, among other things, the original Yoda, which is a nightmare, by the way, because it's always with the backwards talking. Like you go to the diner, omelet I will have. I get it. You're Frank Oz, I get it. And the premises were nameless, faceless, disconnected, divisive. But if we get together and share stories, we realize maybe we have more in common than we think. And it's connecting people. After the show, people are chatting with each other.
I was going to say there's something very important underlying all of this, aside from the comedic gold. You want people to see each other. You want them to. You want all of us to see each other, because there's so much hostility, especially online right now, and so many divisions in the country. And as you said, this is not a political show, but you think it's very important that we see each other.
Right. I think underlying the political rift is that the people think that we're so different from each other, and we're not. Like that woman, Lee, is 95. I have a mother who's 95 and related to her. My mother's we just closed my mother's furniture business after 63 years, and she's mad. She does not want to be retired. She said, I'm going to open a store somewhere else. I'm like, no, you're done. She goes, well, what am I going to do in my retirement? I go, look, you'll vacation. We'll take you to the senior center. You know what she said to me? I'm not going to go there. Those people are old. I'm like, you're old. 95. You're 96. What do you think? You're going to go skydiving with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? And she goes, well, why do I have to retire? I said, well, let's start with the fact that you were locking customers in the store in the middle of the day. I am not making this up. My mother can't hear. She's very flighty. I go there one day, the door's locked, and there's this woman in the store. And I go, man, what happened? She goes, I was looking around and turned to ask your mother a question. I couldn't get out. I said, how long you been here? She goes, 4 hours. I said, what have you been doing? She goes, well, I browsed a lot. She said, I took a nap on that sofa. And she goes, is your name Paul? I go, yeah. She goes, well, the phone rang and I took messages. She took messages for me. Now, anybody watching, you're always a child in your parents' eyes. So I said to my mother, I go, Ma, you can't lock people in a store in the middle of the day. She says to me, oh, I don't know what you're yelling at me about. The woman took a nap on that sofa. She liked it so much, she's going to buy it. I took method
to the madness.
Exactly. And my mother's like, I made a sale and I wasn't even in the store. I'm like, okay. So there's this wonderful connection that's happening in the show.
And we have another clip from the show.
Yeah, local guy, really cool.
Yeah.
I own Diversity Rock and Roll. I was controller of a bank investment software company, left that job to buy the bowling alley for $2 with my friend Gary.
Well, you needed a friend because you didn't have $2?
Oh, he still owes me $1.
Gary!
He still owes me $1.
Gary, I got a great deal, but I only have $1 on me. Come on, man. I can't. All right. Okay, let me...
You just never know what to expect.
Right.
That's the beauty of it.
And he brought a sense of community to that venue. That was in Skokie, the North Shore. I did the show about 8 months ago. I didn't know Diversity Rock and Roll, but apparently it's this famous bowling alley here in Chicago. And the minute he said, I own the, you could hear people gasping like, oh my God. And I'm standing there like what? But he had this great story. He had a life before, like I did. I was a lawyer turned comedian. He was a controller turned bowling alley guy. And so we're getting these amazing stories, and people are really fun, and like I said, it's connecting people. People are going up to each other after the show and having chats, and like I have a dog. My dog is Daisy, right? She finds me annoying. Whenever I walk into the room, she immediately gets up and walks into the other room. And my wife, like, it's your voice. It's annoying. I go, do I sound like a vacuum cleaner to you? Like, how is that happening?
You mentioned you're a lawyer. You were a practicing lawyer. You're not just somebody with a law degree. You were doing some heavy.
I was the man,
stuff.
Man.
Mergers and acquisitions. Why comedy?
Well, Dad, that's exactly what my parents said. Like, why? I was doing M&A deals on Wall Street, no plans to be a comedian. I started writing jokes. They were just coming out of me. And I went to a private function. Jay Leno was a private entertainment. I didn't know what I was going to do with these jokes. I had like 10 pages of jokes. And I went, I don't know if you need jokes, but you can have these. I'm never going to use them. And he was like, okay. A couple of days later, my phone rings, and this is the person on the other end of the phone. It's Jay Leno. Is Paul there? And I'm like, there's no way Jay Leno is calling
Somebody's pranking you.
Somebody's pranking me. So I'm thinking, okay, it's my friend David who likes to pull pranks. He's like, I'm like, really funny, David. He goes, no, really, it's Jay Leno. I go, David, look, I'm in the middle of a deal. I don't have to. No, really, it's Jay Leno. I go, David, and then I snapped and I went, oh yeah? Well, then you do a lousy Jay Leno. And I said, and people always say to me, did you know you were going to be a comedian? I'm like, no. And they're like, were you funny? And I'm like, yeah, I was always the funniest lawyer in my law firm, which that's not saying much. That's like saying you're the sexiest IT guy, you know what I mean? But, and that's how it started. And then it became this sort of like obsession of mine, and then I started doing stand-up on the side at night. And then I was like, I got to make a decision here because I can't do both. And I ended up, And then I was also like, how can I give my parents a heart attack? I know. I'll tell them I'm going to leave Wall Street to go into comedy. And that's what I ended up doing. But it was a scary decision, but I'm happy I did it.
See, I see a link between being a lawyer and being a stand-up comedian, and that in both jobs you have to think critically. You have to be observant.
It's a really good point. You do have to, and also detail in the writing, right? Like as a lawyer, you got to be exact and precise. And to do a joke well, it's got to be quick setup, get to the punchline. In fact, Leno made fun of me the first time he talked to me. He's like, "What do you do for a living?" I go, "I'm a lawyer." He goes, "I knew it." I go, "Why?" He goes, "You write like a lawyer. You're too wordy." He goes, "Get to the punchline already."
Yeah.
And you also you have to think on like different levels, right? Like like what and so like I was watching my kid when he first started walking. He was like a year old, and he would like walk 10 feet and sit, and walk 10 feet and sit, and walk 10 feet and sit, and I realized he's going to be a security guard. Because that's what, by the way, can I show you real quick what my other son gave me for good luck for the show? If you can get this on which camera we're on. But he gave me his favorite dinosaur. Isn't that cute? Yeah, he's 15. But don't judge. Come on now. No.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
Paul, great talking to you.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is really
Paul
fun.
Mecurio.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You can catch Paul's show, Permission to Speak, tomorrow night in Schaumburg at the Larson Prairie Center for the Arts at 7:30. Check him out.